Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Arav Soni and this is a course path for Microsoft Excel for data analysts. Today we're going to start with data preparation in Microsoft Excel while focusing on preparing your data and cleaning and transforming data. So without wasting any time, let's get started. This is a sample flight data with the flight date, the data of the flight, the origin city, the destination city with the scheduled departure time and the actual departure time, the scheduled arrival time and the actual arrival time. We're going to look at how to make changes to this spreadsheet so that we can transform and understand the data more clearly.
One of these changes involves the second column. Notice that the dataset combines the flight carrier, flight number, departure airport code, and arrival airport code into one column. Each of these data elements may be very useful in our analysis, but are not that useful when they are combined together. Fortunately, Excel includes a text-to-column function that allows us to separate these fields. The text-to-column function takes a text string that contains multiple data points and splits it into individual data elements. The split can be based on either a fixed column width or a delimiter, such as a comma or space. The individual data elements are then placed into specified output cells. To facilitate our analysis of airport data, let's use the text-to-column function to separate our second column into individual fields. Before we begin, let's add columns where we would like the data to go, following column B and before column C in our Excel file. To add a column to our file, we click the header for column C and drag to the right to select the number of columns we would like to add, in this case 4. Once we've selected 4 columns, we'll right-click and select Insert to add our columns. Now we can split our text into columns. To do so, click the column B header to select our column. Next, we'll go to the Data ribbon and click the Text to Columns icon. When we do so, Excel will launch the Text to Columns wizard. We can specify if our data is delimited or fixed width. In this case, each of our data elements are separated, or delimited, by a space. We'll select Delimited and click Next. We'll specify our delimiter.
As you can see here, there are various criteria on which you can separate your data, that is tab, semicolon, comma, space, or even others. For this case, we have our data separated by a space, so we're gonna choose space.
Which is a space. We'll then click Next again. If we want to specify particular column formatting, we could do that here, but in this case, we'll just use the general format. Finally, we'll specify the destination for our data. We can click the cell icon and select our 4 new columns. This tells the Text to Columns wizard to put our output in these columns. When we click Finish, Excel completes the conversion. We can clean up our data a little bit now. Let's add headers to our new columns. Column C contains our carrier code, column D contains our flight number, column E contains our origin airport, and column F contains our destination airport.
Now, once you have your data, the flight data separated into 4 columns, that is carrier, the flight number, origin, and destination, it's much better to understand and interpret the data rather than having it in just one column. It's not that useful to have 4 types of different data into one column. This makes it much more easier for us to understand the data and interpret the data the right way.
Alright, so now we will be looking at string manipulation functions incorporated into as formulas. We have got 3 here, that is len, trim, proper, upper, or lower. The len function tells you the length of a field. For example, in a cell you have a word and you want to know the length of that word, you can use the len function. And trim function removes extra space from the data. It helps your data look more organized, more clean, and easy to understand, good to look at. The proper, upper, and lower function, it helps you to adjust the alphabetical case of a field. As you can see here, we've got a separate spreadsheet with data already on it, but the data is not well organized. It needs to be organized first, and then we will be able to use it. So let's see.
First, let's use the len function to make sure that our airport codes are 3 letters long. I'll insert a column and call it code length. In cell B5, let's use the len function and apply it to the airport code in cell A5. When we press enter to complete the formula, we can see that this code is 5 characters long. I'll use autofill to place this formula in each row. Notice that all of our codes are 5 letters long, but looking closely, we can see that this is because each of our codes are preceded by white space. Perhaps an analyst entered these spaces when they were entering the data. To remove leading and trailing white space in a field, we can use the trim function in Excel. I'll rename our column Valid Code. Now let's enter the trim function in cell B5 and use cell A5 as our argument. When we press enter, Excel removes or trims the white space from the data in cell A5 and places it in cell B5. I'll autofill this formula for each row.
Now let's look at changing case. We have the lower function, the upper function, and the proper function. As you can see, the lower function would change the characters of that cell into lowercase. The upper function would change the characters of that cell into uppercase. And same with the proper case. The J and D in John Doe is in uppercase, while the rest being in lowercase. Now let's see how we can use the upper, lower, and proper function on Excel.
Returning to our partial listing of airport codes, notice that the alphabetical case of our airport codes is inconsistent and looks a bit unprofessional. I'll add another column called capital code so that we can use Excel to fix this. In cell B5, I'll use the upper function, which converts all of the letters in a string to uppercase, and I'll specify cell A5 as the argument. I'll then autofill the formula for all rows. Notice now that our codes appear the way we would expect. Now let's again highlight our updated codes and copy them. We can also access paste values by clicking the Paste drop-down from the Home ribbon and selecting Paste Values. When we hit OK, notice that our upper formula is replaced by the calculated value. We can now delete the old airport code column. There are also strange capitalizations in our airport name column. That was a messy analyst. Let's clean this up as well. I'll add a column called Airport and use the proper function to apply the appropriate case. I'll enter the function in cell C5 and specify cell B5 as its argument. Notice that Chicago O'Hare International Airport was already correctly capitalized, so nothing changed. However, when I autofill the formula for each row of our report, notice that Excel applies the proper capitalization. For example, John F. Kennedy International Airport and Seattle-Tacoma International Airport had errors, but they don't now. Once more, I'll copy our data and use paste values to keep the results of our formula. Then, I'll delete the old airport name column. Our report of airport codes containing clean data looks more professional and is ready for use.
Alright, that was data preparation in Microsoft Excel. Thank you so much for watching the video and stay tuned for next week while we go over data validation techniques in Microsoft Excel.